Now, ladies and gentlemen, here's one you all can sing with us. When the Saints go marching in.
Class, it's me, it's Mr. Gubbs here. I can remember a little while ago me putting a little thing on the end of one of my YouTube videos saying that I'll take requests of where else I can go and film them. Didn't think anyone would watch or take any note, but it seems some of you did. So thanks to Reuben, here I am at this place. I'm not sure quite where it is. But anyway, I've been told to come down here. I think he said that I need to go and visit the first, the best football club on the south coast. Well, Fratton Park was busy, unfortunately, so I've come here to this place, St Mary's Stadium, in home of Southampton Football Club. Apparently they played in the Premier League once, I don't know. Anyway, here I am on location, request special, and I'm going to share my normal information with you. So, let's get straight on with the video.
Sing. Now when the Saints go marching in.
St Mary's Festival. This is the Northern Stand. This is where the away fans sit. I've sat in this stand many a time. I think I've watched Pompey beat Saints 4-0 or 4-1 here once before, and seen them lose quite a few times as well. So what have I been up to this week? We've had the last week of 10 of you in a group, and we're preparing ready for half of you to be in with me on Monday and Tuesday, half of you to be with me on Wednesday and Thursday. Also this week we've been making the classroom neat and tidy, getting it ready for next year. We've also been packaging all of your books up, so we've got big bundles of all of your books ready to take home. That's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks. All your reports have been handed in, they're ready to sign now. So yeah, really busy week. Hope you've been busy too. I've had a little bit of work from some of you, so I'll do some shout outs in a bit and share some work. Let's get straight on.
Saints go marching in. Sing it again. Now when the Saints marching in.
So, shout out this week to a couple of you. I've had work so far from Taya, work from Kim, and work from Ria. Some really lovely work going on. You're doing all sorts of things. Had a really interesting PowerPoint presentation from all about buses and the history of buses that Maria's been up to. Kimberly's been getting ready for her sister Samantha's birthday. So by the time we've seen this video, it would have been her birthday. Happy birthday to you, Samantha. I think you're 8 very soon, so happy birthday from all of us in Hawking class. And I'm sure I'll get some more work from you on Monday. So get on with some good work. I'm going to show you right at the end of this video.
Now when the Saints go marching in, yes, I want to be in that number.
So first piece of work that I'm going to share with you this week is from Toby. These are two pieces of writing actually that I've been doing during our first couple of weeks back. Toby went home and he finished his story, so I'm going to share a little bit of a example of that for you in a moment. I'll put a scan of his work probably up there somewhere, or maybe up this way, I don't know, and you'll get to read that. And there's also some beautiful work from Lola, which is again finishing the same story, which was set in a big sort of cylindrical improving the length of our writing, improving the length of our writing, and really dug down into their characters and went on with some amazing vocabulary. So I hope you like what they've got to show. So I'll see lots more of you on Monday, and some more of you on Wednesday. I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you to whoever sent me to this place. Yeah, I'll have to go on very soon. Really interesting. Soon, so I can get rid of this awful lockdown here, and it's back again. So over out, then see you later. Bye.
Nothing happened. On her way out, she thought it might be the wrong one. Then she went to a different one, and it did it again. Books came out. She did it again, but this time 6 globes. But again, nothing happened. Then she took out the books and put them on the side. She got scared and then fell asleep from one of the books. And when she woke up, she looked and saw the globes, books, and more. Then she went out. Where was the snow? Then she went back to the globe and saw it was a different one. She thought it's where she was and took it. She then wanted food and drink. She went out for help, then parted the house. She thought it would take her back, and it was all gone. 2 days later, she started to hallucinate and saw a horse and people. Then lost her hand, then found the real house and asked for food and water. They didn't give it to her. Then she said, "Have you seen the library?" And they said yes. "But where was it? Was it still there? Can you take me there? Why didn't you see it? Did you go in?" She said, and he said, "Slow down, I'll take you there and ask the questions that you need." Then he said, "Why are you going here yourself?" And they got lost and dug a hole and found a space to stay for a bit. That's just the start of Toby's story. I love the mystery that he's developed. In seconds, the globe started to spin frantically. Books started to fly off the shelves as the wind tore past them. Snatching her hand away, Elsa was shocked to see it had come to life once again. A book landed in her hand. She recognised it immediately. A tear formed in her eye as she remembered how her mother used to read it to her. Instantaneously, the globe's mechanism started to smoke with friction. The smoke enveloped her. Cough, she collapsed to the floor. When she awoke, the floor felt cobbled. Opening her eyes, the colour was blinding yet familiar. Slowly she rose to see the yellow brick road laid out in front of her, and so many magical colours. In the distance she could make out Green Emerald Tower. She could hear a piercing noise, a cackling. But whom? A puff of smoke appeared out of nowhere as the laugh continued. There she stood before her, the Wicked Witch of the West. Scared to death, the girl slowly tumbled back, realising she was still in the library and knocking the bookshelf back. Maybe she could escape from Oz by feeling around to get a book. The witch got closer as Elsa was feeling around, desperate to find a book. Laughing loudly, the witch reaches out to cast a spell on her. As Elsa picked up a book to shield herself, mysteriously she began to fall down a rabbit hole. She had never entered another book before, when she had already started a different one. It was full of different strange objects falling apart from a place that no one else could enter, and that was forbidden for humans to set foot. There was no horizon, just purple and then darkness. It felt as though she was going to be falling forever. She was now starting to feel sick and dizzy, but could just about see a small room below her. Landing on the stone-hard ground, she realised that it was a much bigger room than she expected. There were lots of different doors, different colours and sizes. In the middle of the room, there was a glass table with a key on top of it. She thought that it would fit one of the doors, so she would try every single one that she could find, jamming the key into each door and trying the hardest to find the key, but none of them would work. As soon as she was about to lose all hope, she saw a curtain in the corner of her eye. Slowly, she walked towards it to see if there could be anything behind it. All she could see was the rings of the curtain scraping across the iron bar, which kept the whole thing in place. All she could see was plastered wall as pale as a dead man's body. But there was also a small wooden door at her feet. She never thought the key would fit in the little hole, but she was wrong. It was a perfect fit. Pushing the miniature door, it opened, but there was one problem. She wouldn't be able to fit through the door because it was so small. On the glass table there was a little bottle that said "Drink me" on it, so Elsa closed the door and put the key on the table and started to drink the liquid from the bottle. Nothing happened, but then the room started to get bigger. Or was she getting smaller? When she was the size of the door, she ran over and pushed it, but nothing happened. The door wouldn't budge. That is when she realised that the door was locked and that she had left the key on the table. She tried and tried to climb up the leg of her chair, but it was no use. She was going back to be stuck but as a small girl for the rest of her life. Near the foot of the table she could see a little chest that wasn't there before, but she opened it anyway. Inside there was a cake that had beautiful writing on the top that said "Eat me." So that was exactly what she did. It made her grow bigger and bigger until she hit her head on the chandelier that was hanging from the ceiling. She felt like it was a giant and that she could rule the world, but that was not why she had eaten the cake. So she bent down to the table, picked up the key, then ate some more of the cake to make her smaller so she could reach the door. The door was a little hard to push as she was smaller, but she got through it. It looked like a wardrobe when she entered, but then it started to snow and she could see a lamppost in the middle of the forest. Had she entered the book once more? She was starting to get colder as the snow poured into her feet, and she wished that she had worn more clothes. And then a gust of wind. She felt as though she was being watched. Then she started to hear noises coming from the bushes. At first she thought her mind might be just playing tricks on her, but then she started to see a figure running around her in the shadows. She started to get nerves and kept asking who was there. In an instant the creature tumbled towards the lamppost, dropping its parcels onto the ice-cold floor. It stumbled back in fear, scared that Elsa would cause him harm, but she wanted to help by picking its parcels up off the floor. "What are you?" the girl asked him. "I could ask you the same question," he said back to her. "You must be freezing out here in those clothes. Would you like to come to my humblest of homes?" he asked. "That would be very nice of you," Elsa said cheerfully. "What is your name, sir?" She said to meet him. "My name is Mr. Tumnus." Walking through the thick snow, Elsa could hear the crunch of snow under her feet. The crunch of snow under her feet, which sent a shiver down her spine. Edging closer to a hardwood floor, she saw Ivy climbing the stone that held in its proud position. Mr. Tumnus was stood to her left, holding the door open for her so she could step through. It seemed to be colder outside than in. He lived alone and he had no friends to talk to. "Would you like some tea?" he asked politely. "That would be very kind of you," she answered, sitting down. She moved closer into the chair to feel warmer as Mr. Tumnus lit the fire. He handed her a mug with tea in it so that it would warm her up even more. He was very nice for a person she had just met. He sat on the chair beside her and started to talk about his grandfather who had passed away, which reminded her of her mother. Then she showed Elsa a sort of flute that he had had for a long time. He asked if she wanted to hear it, and she thought that it would hurt her, so she said yes. The tune was peaceful, but it sounded like there was a war going on. She then looked into the fire. She could see small figures fighting. It made her close her eyes slowly and make her drift off to sleep. Opening her eyes, she could see that a bookshelf had been knocked over by the blast of the Wicked Witch of the West Swans, and the door was wide open from the opening of the door in the small room, and there she was sitting on the library chair. She knew she had to go back to her room, so she sprinted to the door and closed it behind her, knowing that it was all magic. Beautiful.